long before thrill rides and Halloween haunts, long before Independence Hall and Camp Snoopy, even long before Ghost Town and Chicken Dinner Restaurant, Knott's Berry Farm was an actual berry farm. The story of the transformation of a roadside fruit stand into an internationally known tourist attraction is quite a long one. In the early years, the little farm grew largely out of necessity and the boundless energy of Walter Knott. In 1947, Walter Knott and his wife Cornelia officially renamed their Knott's Berry Place to Knott's Berry Farm. This was 8 years before Disneyland was opened. Knott's Berry Farm first came about during the Great Depression, trying to make ends meet. Mr. Knott had began working on crossbreeding the red raspberry, blackberry, and a loganberry. Mrs. Knott began making her famous chicken on their wedding china for 65 cents apiece. This was a thriving business for the Knott family. However, before this business, Walter Knott had a long journey that led to the farm. Born in San Bernardino, California in 1889, Walter Knott grew up in hard times. After meeting his wife and realizing he wanted more for his family, he headed up to the high desert to a city known as Newberry Springs in hopes to farm. As many of us know, the high desert is not suitable land to become prosperous in farming. Walter Knott knew this meant he had to find work. In 1916, he was hired in the town of Calico, and in 1917, he was fortunate to become a part of a road crew that built Route 66. It took the crew almost 4 years to construct. However, for the work, Knott received 160 acres of land from the government. Still wanting to farm, he teamed up with his cousin Jim Preston and began working on the crossbreeding of berries in a city known as Buena Park. The lease on the land which these two were farming on was up, and they decided to split ways, but Walter Knott was determined to stay there and make it work. He begged, borrowed, and dealed to make ends meet and start other business ventures such as the Knott Nursery in Norco, California. Surprisingly, Cornelia's chicken began to expand rapidly and the wait became longer for customers. Walter Knott wanted to give guests something to look at and keep them occupied while they waited. He made a display of the Old West in the Ghost Town Village, which led him back to Calico to begin reconstruction. In 1951, Walter Knott purchased 75 acres in the Calico area with plans to reconstruct the town over a 10-year period. The acreage included the entire town of Calico and several adjacent claims. While homesteading in nearby Newberry Springs, Knott had worked as a carpenter roofing the Calico mills and helped to construct the redwood cyanide tanks. Between 1951 and 1966, the Knotts restored several of the remaining Calico buildings and used old photographs and maps to rebuild the rest of the town. Several buildings, including the Dollhouse and Bottle House, were newly constructed, and a narrow-gauge railroad was built and named the Calico and Odessa Railroad. One of the last buildings to be completed was the Calico House kitchen. Since completion, the Calico House has been one of the longest-operated businesses in Calico. In November of 1966, Walter Knott completed the transfer of ownership of the entire 480-acre property to San Bernardino County for operation as a regional park. The county developed the first campground below Calico in 1967 and placed all of the overhead utilities underground in 1973. The Lane House and Museum was opened in 2001, the same year that a fourth Calico fire destroyed 5 1950s through 1960s era buildings, all of which that have been rebuilt. As a living ghost town, Calico operates year-round as a family-friendly destination for Old West and mining enthusiasts of all ages. On November 16 of 1962, Calico was designated California Historical Landmark 782 by the Department of Parks and Recreation. On July 8 of 2005, Senate Bill 906 was passed recognizing Calico as the official Silver Rush town for the state of California. Author Paige Payton wrote a book in the series Images of California about Calico. This is what she had to say about Walter Knott.
Well, without Mr. Knott, there would probably be no Calico. As you know, he is the Knott of Knott's Berry Farm.
He was a man who wasn't afraid of hard work and was willing to sacrifice to get the job done. He was focused, almost driven, as he pushed forward to reach his goals. Yet he was also imaginative, inventive, and always willing to try something new. The things that worked, he kept. The things that didn't, he dropped. He understood the value of publicity, the need to understand what your customers wanted, and the importance of setting goals.